Oh.
Please, please let's keep.
All intro started. I'm going. The whole intro started. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to jump in. And no microphone. We're a very professional outfit, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Class Action. It's me. It's your host, PLD.
And I'm Richard Eric Charvey. And this is not your average episode. This is a very special episode because Paul can't engineer for shit.
That's right. I have an engineer. We're in hard times. I'm trying to do everything myself. I know how to unmute my mic. Some people would say it's a better show if I keep my mic muted, but we'll get into that later on, I guess.
but why do we have a special episode today?
No, this is a special episode because for the first time I guess I'll call it Class Action Prime. We've had Class Action, which is our regular show. We've had a couple specials. We had the ranking of Star Wars. We had the ranking of the Kevin Smith movies. We had guests on for those, kind of making more special experiences. And the Kevin Smith one was even live broadcast, something that I will go off on a tangent and say, something we're going to try to do maybe once a month if we can. It was so much fun, right?
It really was. I think it was my favorite time on Class Action.
It really was. And we got a likes by Kevin Smith. That's pretty fucking impressive. Can't say I'm a little excited. But either way, today is going to be the first time we're going to have a special guest on the regular Class Action show. Because of the topics we are discussing today, I had this person in mind. He's recently became a general in the Action Army, and like Liam Neeson in Taken, he has a specific set of skills.
Oh yes, he does,
and they seem to fit in with what we are going to be discussing today. So, without further ado, let's bring him aboard. Welcome to Class Action, Mr. Matty Gunner. How are you, my friend?
Gentlemen, honor and a privilege to be here. Salute to you guys. What an introduction. Man, that was great. Liam Neeson, particular set of skills. I love it. How are you, gentlemen? Thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course, man. It's great to have you on. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, awesome. So, like you said, Paul, I've been part of the Action Army for a few months now. I think I joined officially in January. I've been a fan since before then. But I never kind of understood what Patreon and all that kind of stuff was until a friend of mine explained it to me. Because me and some friends of mine, we've been watching Schmodown for years. And he was subscribed to all of the Patreons and stuff. And he explained it to me how you can directly support the content creators. And I've always been for supporting independent content creators. I was like, let me get in on this. And the two guys that I kind of related to the most were Ben and Drew, the Action guys. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna support these guys. I'm gonna get in on the action here. And then I started talking to you, Paul, and I started watching Class Action with you guys, and it was awesome. So to finally be on the show, I'm kind of having a little bit of a fanboy moment.
I'm a fan of you, so I'm having a fanboy moment myself.
Jordan, it sounds kind of sorry.
But Jordan, it sounds kind of familiar. You get into Schmodown or get into anything else, you start relating to Ben and Drew, right? That's kind of how Jarvis and I got together, pretty much. So.
There is. Yeah, we got together through a action movie Anatomy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I remember the live chats.
That's what it was back in the day when there was 10 of us in the live chat here and there, and we're looking at people to talk to. We were talking up the chat. Now in the live streams, there's a lot more people in that.
A lot more people.
So,
but our topic for today, we are pitching John Wick against the Matrix franchise, and this is the reason why we picked Matty Gunner to be a guest host on the show, because he has the skills.
Let's talk about your particular set of skills and why they might come in handy when discussing these films.
So, the reason that you guys very kindly invited me on is because of my background in mixed martial arts. I've been a mixed martial artist for about 5-6 years now. And John Wick was I've always been an action movie fan since I was a kid. I used to stay up and watch, the channel was TNT in the UK, and they used to show old Jet Li movies at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I would stay up and I would put in a blank VCR. For anyone who doesn't know what a VCR is, maybe too young, it's like a little black box that used to put into a machine and hit record.
I got that. I got that reference.
And then I would watch Kiss of the Dragon and Twin Warriors and all these old school martial arts movies. And that's what got me into actually learning to fight and competing, was seeing Enter the Dragon and seeing Bruce Lee and how he would mix all these martial arts together. I was like, wow, I got to learn how to do this. And yeah, so John Wick, Keanu has been training like an animal in jiu-jitsu. We actually have a similar, our jiu-jitsu lineage is tied together. He has been training ever since he started doing John Wick, he's been training with the Machado brothers, who are the cousins of the famous Gracie family. And my black belt learned from them. Okay. So essentially, me and Keanu get our jiu-jitsu from the same source.
Oh, wow.
So
you're black belt cousins, or something like that.
Yeah, not my black belt cousins, but yeah, Keanu was getting it from the source, which is what really attracted me to watch John Wick and take it seriously. Like, he's actually putting in the work.
Very cool.
To come on and do this with you guys, implement some of my knowledge with mixed martial arts, I could say no.
Now that's awesome, but I do have to say one more thing. We have to bring it up. There's one specific reason, especially on this channel, on this crew with Ben and Drew, who, by the way, we are on the Action Industries YouTube channel, home of Ben Bateman and Drew Guy. We definitely salute them for giving us a little spot on their channel to bring our content to the world, so to speak. But Ben and Drew are very big fanboys of somebody specific. So I have to bring this up
going with this
on air, because I think if nobody else wants to know, they want to get into the details of this. When Matty signed up for the Patreon, I run the Team Action Patreon, so I always go through, and if you're over a certain level, you get followed on Twitter. So I found Matty Gunner on Twitter and everything else. I'm getting his details to give to Ben and Drew. And I noticed, and I go followed by. I click the followed by. And one name popped out at me and made me lose my shit. And I had to specifically go into the chat I had with Ben and Drew and go, guys, look at this. I took a screenshot of that. Look at this. Matty is followed by none other than TC legend, Tom Cruise.
How
is this happening?
How does it happen?
So there's actually a really kind of funny random story. You look at Tom Cruise's Twitter followings, he's followed by 10 million people, and he follows 3,000 back.
Right.
I'm lucky to be one of those 3,000. Now, the story was, this was my first time in Los Angeles. This was going back probably 6 or 7 years ago. It was my first time visiting LA. And I walked past the Church of Scientology.
Okay.
And I was with a friend of mine, and we were talking. We were like, "Oh, Tom Cruise, Scientology, blah blah blah." I don't subscribe to all that stuff, so I was like, whatever. I randomly, drunkenly tweeted, because I think we were at the Hard Rock Cafe in Hollywood, and I tweeted, "I would love to get hammered drunk and talk Scientology with Tom Cruise to see if he'll make it a bit more sense when I'm drunk." Not 5 minutes later, followed by Tom Cruise. I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. And I checked. It had the blue tick and everything. I was like,
wow.
What? And I sat there with my DMs open waiting. I was like, oh, man, is Tom Cruise going to yell at me? Or is he going to try and recruit me?
Please, Tom, yell at me. Come yell at me, Tom.
Dude, yeah, yell at me, dude. Please.
That is awesome.
But that's the story. That's how I became followed by Tom Cruise.
So now 2/3 of us have had brushes with fame now. I was waiting for mine. Jarvie, I don't know if you know about Jarvie. Jarvie, you should tell your story. I don't know if everybody else knows it out there. It's been a while since you've told it. So give your space and your little brush with fame recently, and where we can find you. Well, maybe not this summer anymore.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Twitter thing.
No, you have 2 brushes with fame.
We just talked about, we did a Kevin Smith episode where we had Rachel and PJ on, and PJ tweeted out that we did a show and he tagged in Kevin Smith, and I was like, okay. And Kevin Smith liked his tweet, and I was like, holy crap, this is the greatest thing ever. Kevin Smith liked a tweet of a show that I'm part of, and then Kevin Smith liked that tweet, and I was like, now I've made it. I can quit. I can die now.
Just a follow up. I tried totally fishing for a tweet myself at that point. I got nothing. I got bupkis. So
really,
nothing. Thanks, Kev. I love you, Kev. If you're still watching because of that, I love you. It's all good. So, but your other brush with fame, Jarvie, you know that. Come on, tell. Yeah, I already lead up to it. I can't not have it talked about now, right?
I don't.
Yeah, come on, Jarvie.
I don't know how to talk about it really because I'm not even sure if I'm going to be in the cut. But I was a part of the movie Tenet that shot in Estonia for a few months, and there was a casting call. They were looking for extras, and I was like, sure, I'll try. I'd like to be an extra, and I got a call like, you got a role that we'd like you to. No, not a role. They said it's like a special part of being an extra. I was like, what's this special all about? Then we showed up, and then my part, I'm part of maybe like 50 people in that particular scene, but I'm wearing a mask. But I'm doing some special. I needed some special training. I'm not going to say before the movie. When the movie comes out, I can point out which I am. And there was a second call when they called in more extras, and that was just a walk around a street, and I had to look at the camera and be all like, "What is that?" And I had to like look in the lens. So I'm not, if they ever keep that cut in, I'm like,
we actually have a new broadcast lane. There's the thing. See, there it is. See there, right? He's right on top there, right on top of John David Washington and Robert Pattinson. To the right of the title, Richard Eric Jarvie, star of Tenet. That's where we go with
That's
today.
awesome. That's awesome, dude. I was already looking forward to seeing Tenet, but now, whew, I'm keeping an eye open.
it's probably gonna get pushed though. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I bet you.
Dude, when I see you on camera, I'll be like,
Yeah, I'll lose my shit if that happens.
It's the new Leo meme from Once Upon a Time. Pointing up the screen. That'll be awesome. The movie theater type. I wish I had that. If I was a good engineer, I would have had that clip already like installed, so I could have just thrown it up there at that time. But I'm not, so there we go with that. So
you're forgetting to mention your run-ins with a certain TV actor.
Mine?
Movie actor. Yeah, I think you were a part of Vanderbeek's.
I did do that. Dude, I forgot to talk about that. That's true. When I went to college at Drew University back in the old days, you're talking before everything else, before he made it big, right after he did a movie called Angus, James Vanderbeek, better known as Dawson from Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues, wanted to go attend college, and he did a college sleepover tryout, and he stayed in my room. I got to show him the university. He ended up joining, going to Drew University, and when he was there, he joined the a cappella group that we have called 36 Madison Avenue, which is basically the address of the school. That's why we call it 36 Mad Ave. And I was a part of that as well. So I actually got to sing college a cappella for about 2 years and record an a cappella album with Dawson from Dawson's Creek. That's my brush with fame.
Is that available anywhere? Can we find that on Spotify?
I don't think so. I have it somewhere digitally. I'll send you some links like after the show or whatever. I got him singing Dave Matthews and Sting, and me singing Queen and something like that. So anyway, we do all that sort of stuff. It's pretty fun now. It's pretty good memory now. He was pretty good. I gotta say. So look at this class action. We're very classy. We all have brushes with fame, so to speak. So, but you know what? We're a little off the rails today. I don't mind. I love it. Why don't we get out to actually what this show is supposed to be about? We're talking about John Wick and the Matrix franchise. But what do we do here in class action? Generally, we take two separate items, such as John Wick and the Matrix franchise. We put them up against each other. We have 5 custom-made categories, and we decide at the end which one is victorious in the battle to the death. Well, it doesn't really, I should actually really change that because we're the whole lawyer firm we go. It should be some more law-related. Battling to the death doesn't really matter. It doesn't really sound right, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Battle to the death, 5 custom-made categories, and that's what we usually do. Jarvie, what else do we do?
We do something. What would Ed Harris play?
That's my favorite one.
I've been waiting for this.
My boy, my favorite actor of all time is Ed Harris. And as you know, and I actually said it's kind of the point where I get
Oh, he's a good actor.
It happens to be. I kind of mention it every once in a while when he brings up when some movies come up. I will let people know that he was involved. But the reason why I like him so much is that I've never seen him mail in a performance. I think every time he always gives it all, whether it's an action franchise, whether it's an Oscar bait type movie, or when it's there's actually productions I've seen that look like they were student films made for $10,000, but he still gave like his all. I think he makes any movie better. even just a supporting role. Dan Merle actually said, I think on the Action Guys or one different stream, where if you put Ed Harris in a movie, it kind of legitimizes the movie because you're going to get a great performance out of him no matter what you do. And like for The Rock, he made The Rock a 90s trashy action movie and made it a little more legitimate, which is why I think a lot of people like The Rock so much.
Without him, that would have been a totally ridiculous movie.
Right.
But just a little ridiculous one.
Exactly. Well, he toned down the ridiculous just enough.
Yes, he did.
But with that being said, so we like to play a game where we play what would Ed Harris play. We take Ed Harris, we actually replace him in whatever franchise or movie we're talking about. Or the other opportunity we have is we can actually write in a character. If one doesn't exist, you can put him in somehow, make him somebody's father. Usually ends up being a military character for us, as we found as it goes. Actually, we tend to gravitate. We tend to have. I think we have General Hummel has like many different siblings. Yeah, like Mark Hummel, Pat Hummel.
Mark Hummel.
I'm like,
that's just click. That's good. That's very, very punny.
It's puntastic. So, without further ado, I know Matty has one this week. We can talk about The Matrix and John Wick, and I know what Jarvie forgot again.
I forgot to do it. I always do. But I fast-tracked it. I've got my choices now.
All right.
Nice.
I'm going to let the guest go first. Matty, let's start with John Wick franchise.
Okay.
What would you have him play, Ed Harris play in the John Wick franchise?
One thing I found with John Wick is how certain actors, like when they show up, they're fairly like wash away. Like you see them, you're like, oh wow, that's that guy, and then they're gone. I would have Ed Harris play Charlie, the waste disposal guy from the first one, the guy that shows up to clean his house.
David Patrick Kelly from The Crow. He's the guy who played not Tintin.
Is it the cleaner or something? I think it's called the cleaner or something.
Yeah, his name is
the cleaner, something like that.
Yeah.
He's the main bad guy. He's the main bad guy in The Crow. Not the main bad guy, the main junkie in The Crow as well. That's a good one. I didn't even think about that one. I like that one. Okay, that's what you picked too, Jarvie, huh?
I did. And I'm not just saying that because I forgot. I actually have him as the cleaner.
Okay, I gotta say, this one was really tough for me because I think there's a couple of roles he could have played. There's a part of me that wanted him to play the Bowery King, the Lawrence Fishburne role.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be different. There's a part of me that went, well, he could have played any of the Russian bosses, like from the Michael Nyqvist or the guy I liked from the second one. I always forget his name.
Or even the hotel manager.
Right, that's not Lance Reddick. And then Ian McShane, Winston. That was the one I really settled.
That was my first one. That was my first one I was going to go to, but I thought that would be like too easy.
See, that's what you're starting to know the show already, because that's what we tend to do. We're like, that's too easy, almost, right?
And the cleaner fits because that's exactly, he's strict, he's calculated, he has to be super strict about what he's doing. Everything has to be perfect, and that feels Ed Harris. That feels like him. So
I went through all of them like that, and I said I settled on somebody a little bit different. He's only in the first two. I hope he comes back. I want to put him in the John Leguizamo role, Aurelio.
Okay.
The car shot role. I can see, especially with the
first character, though.
Yeah.
Especially the first film when Vigo's son comes in, he's like, "I got where'd you get that car, John?" Well, I stole it. Boom! I guess it gets really intense like that. I can picture Ed Harris completely doing that.
100%.
You picked the wrong goddamn car, Commander.
You the wrong goddamn car shop. Get that. So that was my pick for John Wick. All right, let's go to the other cat. Let's go to the other franchise. We're talking about The Matrix. Can you slide him into The Matrix anywhere, Matty? We'll let you go first as well as a guest. Come on.
I can. I had him as Cypher.
No, you're kidding me. I mean, you're kidding me. I've got this tape, and I'm really proud of the Cypher one. I think he's perfect.
Yeah.
I can't disagree. I did not have him for that, but I did consider him for that. But you guys are like twins, you guys.
Yeah, dude. It's awesome.
The same wavelength.
The scene where he's eating snow when he's betrayed Morpheus, and he just jumps on his chair. It's like, surprise, motherfucker! And I bet you never saw this coming.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think of that. That would be great.
Harris do that.
I was thinking when he was like leaning over Neo.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like about to pull the plug.
I could actually see him with the steak.
Beautiful big blue eyes.
Like the whole day, I don't know about this steak. I know this isn't real. It's just my brain. Ignorance is bliss. I could see him doing that one too.
He could be a great shit weasel.
Oh yeah. Oh, he could absolutely be. I did consider that. I decided to go. I also considered, of course, the various military roles, all the different, especially within Zion and everything else.
And the architect seems like a pretty obvious one.
It is, and but that's the one I went with. I actually chose the architect.
Okay. Because that was my pick, but I was like,
I think of that.
More offbeat,
Because my initial thing is, I went there, I went away from it, and I kind of came back. I went there and I went away from it because it's such a controlled character, so it's usually against his usual intensity. But there is a low key intensity of that role that he could add to it that would be menacing. That could have made just something. I think so. I would love to have seen him. And you know that Sean Connery was supposed to play that originally. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Really?
Oh, right. No, I didn't know that.
I did that. I read that somewhere that he turned it down because he didn't understand the script. Basically, kind of same reason he turned down Lord of the Rings.
there's a lot of like almost castings that happened for the Matrix.
Yeah, a lot of them. The way I found out more, that was pretty big one. But so yeah, I wanted him as the architect to see like just the. I'm one we're going to talk about later, Prod, but I'll drop the tidbit. I love the architect stuff. A lot of people don't love it. I love the architecture. That's some of my favorite philosophical stuff that I've ever that had to do with the movie itself. So that's where I would have gone. So that is what Ed Harris play this week.
At least no one says the Oracle.
The Oracle.
I was thinking the Merovingian at one point.
Male character, which is like
that's how the Merovingian. That would have been a good one as well.
Why didn't we come up with that?
That was a good one too. Actually, a very good one.
I wonder how his French is though.
I've seen him do Russian.
It's got to be amazing.
Yeah, anything you can do anything. That's true. I did actually briefly consider a younger Ed Harris in the role of the Agent Smith, possibly, but then I went a little away from it because he's a little older. But yeah, but that could be good if it was a younger Ed Harris. But
I just came up with a new character for Ed Harris to play in the Matrix.
Hit it on me.
On the spot.
Go ahead.
And I can't remember which. I think it's Matrix Reloaded. They are talking about the previous ones, that there have been ones before him.
Right.
I would have Ed Harris as the one before Neo.
There you go. That was Keanu Reeves. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yes.
That could be cool.
Yes.
I love where this is going. All right. Well, that's Ed Harris this week. We also do sometimes we also do, instead of reviews, we also have another segment we sometimes call the Public Defender. Now, this is something which actually works out perfectly because when we started this Public Defender segment, Jari, what is the Public Defender? Tell us what the Public Defender is.
I always feel bad when I'm explaining it because I feel like I'm not doing it enough justice.
We're not berating public defenders. We all have great respect for public defenders, but just kind of came off the cuff and it fit.
And our stereotype of a public defender, which is only like movie based, is they're usually overworked, underpaid, they're ill prepared, and they just have to come up with stuff on the spot. So that's pretty much how we lent the name. So we are going to be having a top 5 list that we have to come up with on the spot. We will have a topic like greatest 5 action movies ever, and we have to come up with them on the spot. We don't usually before.
And usually end up missing totally obvious ones because we have no.
That's the point. That's the point of it. So we have some ridiculous, panic choices that might not otherwise make the cut.
When we introduced the segment, we kind of had a hard time with it because, there's only 2 of us, so I could give Jarvie one or Jarvie because if we don't know the topic, how we're going to have it. So we floated about this idea of having people we did it once or twice. We had Matt Kearns give us one or did it on air. Oh, this week we have a guest. So I said, Matty Gunner, why don't you come up with a list for Jarvie and I to make a quick top 6 or so of? You end up usually doing 3 each is how it ends up going now. But so why don't you give us your public top 5 or top 6 off the cuff topic that Jarvie and I can riff on and see what we can come up with and how badly we're going to embarrass ourselves with.
So this one, I figured I would keep it close to the subject, fairly close to the subject, also close to the brand.
Okay.
Of AI.
Okay.
I would like you guys to give me your top 5 performances of an assassin.
Oh, I love this.
Ooh. Top 5.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna go first then because I'm gonna throw one out there. I don't know if this technically counts or not, but I'm gonna make it count. We did that. We covered. They covered on AMA. They covered 13 Assassins, and there's that role in there with the samurai. And I can't remember his name.
One
But
movie I haven't seen.
The one quote I can tell you the quote of the guy. Like it's basically another Magnificent Seven type movie where it's like there's a low key seven samurai type people. And they call them assassins, so that's why I'm going to let it make it work. They're fighting a big group of people. He has his sword out and just like has his apprentice there with him, and he just sits there and he sees this whole big rush of people coming towards him. He's like, anybody who gets by me, don't let him get by, or something like that. It's like basically kill anybody who gets by me. And the guy's like, okay, sir, pretty much. And he ends up going, I love that. It's the most badass sequence in AMA, one of AMA's badass sequences ever, I think. So I'm going to use that one as my number 3. We'll do top 3 each. That's what we usually do. So that'd be top 6 total. So Jarvis, what's yours?
I'm gonna say this is a very unfamiliar character for many people. I feel like I can't remember the actor's name, but it's the movie Faster with The Rock. And there's this really slick assassin who like does yoga in the morning. I can't remember his name. I don't want to look it up right now.
Okay.
But he's this really cool character that has to take out The Rock's character. It's sort of a side character, but totally takes over the movie. He's like super cool, slick. He's got an awesome girlfriend. He's not your average like silent, deadly assassin type. He's more like this playboy, but still very good at his job, accurate sort of depiction of a hitman. So I really somehow remember that character, but I can't remember his name. So I'm gonna say the assassin from Faster.
Okay, I'll give his name. Oliver Jackson Cohen is the killer. That's what he's called. And I think that's his name,
right.
the killer.
Yep, so. That's him. Exactly.
Okay. I got one. And I almost want to say it for my number 1, but I can't think of any others off the top of my head. I'm still thinking about my next one. But I'm going to do it anyway. Tom Cruise in Collateral.
Yes. I was afraid you were going to say Jason Bourne or James Bond because I don't want to pick these.
But that's one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies.
Vincent.
You never see Tom Cruise. Vincent. You don't see Tom Cruise play the villain very often. And when he does, it is cold as F. Let me tell you. One of my favorite movies I got introduced to through him. I just one I missed. But seeing Tom Cruise with his salt and pepper hair at that point, going up against Jamie Foxx, as we say, Jamie Foxx.
Two X's.
Two X's. Anyway, that's one of my favorite Tom Cruise roles. So.
I'm struggling big time. Paul, if you've got one,
you want to do another one
for me?
Oh God, okay.
But because I want to think of a good I don't want to think of a cool character. I want to come up with a good performance from an assassin.
That was what I wanted to get you guys with. I didn't want it to be who's the coolest. I wanted to be who personifies an assassin. It's a broad-based character, and you can be in different things. It could be different eras, different things. So I do have one more. If you're ready to go, Jarv, you can go. But I do have one more.
You go first
because it's very on brand for me. It's going to be very on brand for me. So
I'll go first.
It is fucking Ed Harris. Ed Harris, Enemy at the Gates. He plays the World War II sniper, Russian sniper.
Great
one.
Oh, he's so awesome in that. I remember like he has the kid, the role of the kid who goes back and forth between Ray Fiennes' Russian character and Ed Harris's German character, and they go back and forth, and they make Ed Harris the best badass. It's not an assassin moment, but he just basically he comes in the kid. You see that Ed Harris. It's kind of a spoiler, but fuck it anyway. He's hanged the kid, and you're like, dude, this fucking guy is savage. But also, there's that sequences. Oh, they're great sequences in there when they're running through the ruins of a hotel, and you see him take the shot as the guy's like jumping across the pit. Oh, so beautiful! Such a beautiful. I guess it's just beautiful
in that movie. Yeah,
brutal. So Ed Harris will be my number 1. Of course, thank you, Matty, for letting me choose Ed Harris. Pick the category that I could choose Ed Harris as my number 1. I love it.
Okay, thank you. I came up with one, and this is. This I think will be a number 1 for most people as well. I can't believe that I didn't come up with the first time. Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men. That is a performance-based assassin.
Perfect. That's another perfect one. Oh, I like that. A quarter
Just an
scene.
evil bastard.
Oh, I
Yep,
love that.
yep.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
So subtly played.
I love it. I love it. Well, Matty gave it to us. Why don't you tell us some of your top assassins then?
For sure.
So my number 3, I have as Keanu as John Wick, just because of how amazing he is in that role.
Of course. Of course.
Jarvie just took my number 2.
Okay,
Did
perfect.
I? Okay.
So I feel like we're almost even now. And my top one is Jean Reno in Leon the Professional.
Oh God, I didn't
Right,
think about
of
that
course.
one. That's a
Yep.
great one.
It
Is a damn good one. I love that.
I was thinking of a I don't know if he was an assassin, but the not 13 Warriors, the Antonio Banderas one where he's with the Vikings.
Oh, I know what you mean. The
Is he
13th Warrior.
an assassin, or is he just like a Spanish, warrior amongst them? But I don't know.
I think for broad-based enough, we can go with it.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
And George Clooney from The American popped in before Javier Bardem, but
That's a good one too.
Felt like I had to come up with Javier.
I like that one too. So, all right, you know what? We're 30 minutes in. We should get into our class action brief.
Yes, we should.
We're a little late. That's okay. I love it. We're a little off the rails. Hopefully, you're sticking with us. So let's get into our class action brief of the week. We're actually finally talking about the topic at hand: The Matrix versus John Wick. And we have 5 categories. I'll spell them out for you here, and then we'll get into them. The categories we chose were, number 1, the reason why we brought Matty on, pretty much, best action sequences, which has a better action sequences. And that's an interesting thing we have to deep delve into, because we have are the actual fight sequences, or the Matrix has more like war action with the war against the robots. So we'll have to deep dive into that. Number 2, better Keanu.
Yeah.
That's an easy one, right? It had to be in there. Yep. You got John Wick versus Neo, which is the better character. Young versus old, as we go. But number 3 will be the better impact. Which franchises had the better impact? And this is one that I will say, right off the cuff, did not. It seems like my initial thought was, "Oh, this is an easy one," but then I went down into it. I went, "You know what? It's not as easy as you think." Number 4, we got the most, since they both have sequels coming out, which is another reason why we decided to do this. Which one do you anticipate more? Matrix 4, John Wick 4. And then finally, better world building. Another one that on the surface, you're like, oh, this is easily maybe one film franchise, but there's a lot that can be brought up in both franchises to talk about. So those are the 5 categories we will get into. And we'll see. We have 3 of us. So this is going to be interesting to see how the vote is going to go down. But at the end, we'll figure out which one do we want. Which one is the better franchise, The Matrix or John Wick. So let's get right into it. Better action sequences. I kind of feel like me and Jarv, we should take ours first and then give the floor to Matty and let him decide, because he'll probably he might end up swaying us, but we'll find out.
Probably. I feel like we're just going to be scratching the surface as introduction, and then Matty can get in there and take it by storm.
All right, Jarv, why don't you go first with what has the better action sequences?
All right, so I broke this down. The Matrix really is a quintessential action movie of our time. Like, the Wachowskis revolutionized how action movies are shot and edited. Technically and physically, they still hold up as one of the greats. And fight sequences and the skills, it looks otherworldly. It looks like we had never seen anything like that before. Now, John Wick sort of reintroduced action movies. The genre had become a little stale. There had been like some here, some there, but it was like the action genre was becoming sort of like a niche thing. And John Wick had really nothing to prove. I remember when it came out, I knew nothing about the movie. The trailer was kind of a so-and-so. And when it came out, the hype started to build and build and build. And I think what makes it about John Wick, the gun fu is, I feel like that is the essence of the action sequences. Is we have hand-to-hand combat mixed in with this gunfighting that they sort of called gun fu now. So I'm still undecided. This is the one category that I'm undecided on. The others I'm pretty much sure on. So I'm gonna let you go first and decide. After
Come on, Jarvis. We're supposed to be professional. We're doing a show. We have to have these things all laid out. We have the answers ready to go. Actually, I joke around, guys. Honestly, I think every week we do this show, I end up going. I have an idea, but then I end up talking my way. I talk my way out of my own decisions halfway through. So, but I will echo what Jarvie has to say before I'll give him a little bit of time. Matrix was definitely, and we're going to get into this probably more in the impact, but it did have a great impact as far as the action sequences go. There were so many different camera things and everything else, but I don't want to get too deep dive into that because that's later on in a different category. But there was a lot in the Matrix that really made you sit up and go, wow, this is freaking sweet. It made you actually look at action movies in a different way. But the same can be said about John Wick. I watched a little bit of the franchise this week in preparation, and the gun work in John Wick is so fucking sweet. Like I can't even more. You don't notice it usually. I actually haven't noticed some of the cool stuff that they were doing, like the whole.
Band.
Yeah, it is. It's like a basic ballet. It's almost like funny having Angelica Houston in that ballet role because it's exactly what it is. It's a ballet of action. So whereas initially I thought it was The Matrix, I think John Wick has kind of superseded it, and I actually going to pick John Wick and say that John Wick has a better action sequences now, probably because of The Matrix. I think Matrix probably had some influence on it in terms of inspiring like gun fu type stuff, but at this point, I think John Wick has taken that next step. Maybe it's because they're directed by basically action stunt guys. That's the directors are from that world, and they were actually on The Matrix. They were one of the stunt guys on The Matrix. So I'm going to go with John Wick for me.
It's interesting because for John Wick, the action is way more toned down than in The Matrix. I feel like in scale, if we look at it, it's a contained story. But what makes the John Wick action sequences so great is the story and the emotion behind every punch. I'm going to be spoiling John Wick now. His wife is killed and his dog is killed. That is like, you don't need any more. You want to destroy everyone that gets in your path. And even though The Matrix is more technically advanced, John Wick has more weight behind every punch.
I agree. And it sounds like you're going John Wick there, Jarvie.
I think I am, which
all
is
right.
Fucked up to say, but I think I am.
All right, Matty, talk to us, boy.
Looks like we're going across the board here, boys. I'm going with John Wick.
All right.
I can't believe I thought I was going to be picking The Matrix, but go ahead, Matty. Sorry, I cut you off.
No problem. It's while we say The Matrix, the action scenes are very impressive. They are very beautiful. They are a callback to the traditional martial arts movies that, we all loved growing up. You'd punch a guy and see him go flying 10 feet in the air. That kind of generation has now become kind of silly in that you see films like Kung Fu Hustle making a parody of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that, as much as like guys like us, we love those kind of movies, to a wider audience, they're kind of seeing like, it's just a silly Kung Fu movie. Now that's just in the action. With John Wick, as you said, the gunplay is so much better, but more importantly, the fighting is as legit as you can possibly get. Like, if I was in a room with Keanu Reeves, I would be interested in having a jiu-jitsu roll with him, because the skills are there. They are being implemented. They're the perfect mix between practical and Hollywood, because you got to go humor me for a minute. I'm going to talk to any jiu-jitsu nerds that are watching. The man hits a perfectly hit armbar, lifts the guy's head with his foot, and then dome shots him while the armbar is still in. I lost it. I jumped out of my seat in the theater. I was like, oh, yes! Jiu-jitsu, yes! I was losing my mind. And then in the second one, you see the fight scene between Keanu and Common. And now, Common, I don't know what his background is with martial arts and action. I haven't followed Common's career massively, but he uses a series of techniques which are very advanced. There's a spider guard, which is where you have one foot on the hip, one foot on the arm, and you have the arm dragged over. Then he does an inversion, which is where he goes like onto his head and over that, and he's dodging bullets. In The Matrix, Neo just bends over backwards and he dodges 10, 20 bullets. Common is spinning around on the floor on his back while holding a knife still. He hasn't let go of the knife, And John Wick, who's meant to be the most deadly assassin in the world, is firing off shots at him, and he's dodging it on the floor. So it's a perfect case of practical, and that stuff that Common was doing is hard to hit in a jiu-jitsu match, let alone while someone is shooting a gun at you. So it's that perfect mix of practical and crazy. Now going to, you feel the punch more in John Wick. Every bit of action in John Wick, I feel, is he has an intent to kill.
Yeah,
so, like,
very good point.
In the first one, they're in the bath scene. He stands up, and the big guy standing in front of him, he empties 3 bullets into the big dude's chest, and at point blank range, which would kill any man, and then just headshots him just to make sure he's dead. Just the rage that's behind him.
Vincent does in Collateral as well.
Yeah, and every single kill he ends with a shot to the head or a knife to the head. Neo probably wouldn't kill anyone because you never know if he's got to save them, pull them back to the human world. So it's the case of, do you want ooh and ah, or do you want ooh, damn, oh, that was brutal. And for me, I prefer the latter. So I got to go John Wick.
John across the board. I will actually throw out there additionally, one thing I did forget to mention also is the fact that the John Wick got more exciting as it went on. As far as the Matrix went, it kind of got, I don't want to say not boring is not the right word, but every Matrix had Keanu, Neo against Agent Smith in different ways. So it was kind of like the first battle against Agent Smith, then the battle against a million Agent Smiths, and then the battle against a billion Agent Smiths. It kind of seemed like it kind of lost a little bit of luster, whereas John Wick was always kind of fighting somebody else and nobody knew, so it kind of had more excitement to it.
Yeah, but you're forgetting the twins, and you're forgetting I think one of the most underrated fights in The Matrix Reloaded is when Neo is going to the Oracle again, and he's
Cypher.
fighting
Not Cypher, Seraph.
That's right. That's a really good fight. And you can tell, this is exactly what you said, Matty, before, that he does not intend to kill. Both of them, they're not intending to, they're just dancing. They're feeling each other. They're just like doing a choreographed like dance, and they're having a conversation. We are fighting to get to know who the other person is. This is what I love about that fight.
Oh, I did too. I wasn't forgetting them. I meant like the climactic battle, though. It seemed like that was the big things in there. I mean, hell, you want to talk about the dance? I love just the first time that Keanu's Neo faces Morpheus, and the first time, like, I know Kung Fu.
I know
the whole sequence, and the whole sequence where, like, all of a sudden I forget the kid's name on the neck of a desert that comes up. Neo's fighting Morpheus. Mouse, that's right, Mouse. Neo's fighting Morpheus. And I was like,
everyone's like, cool.
Yeah.
And big,
and
like,
again, that calls
sequence of just doing the fight. I'm sorry. They're just like it's a very choreographed sequence, which is fun to watch, but it does bring up Matt's points, not as much intensity as far as John Wick would be.
It goes back to the old school martial arts of, I'm going to test your skill set against mine, test your fighting style against mine,
which definitely has its place, no doubt. But so
and John Wick 3, for just a quick thing, John Wick 3 brings in dogs which is my favorite fight action sequence of the entire John Wick series. Is the fight with the Halle Berry and the dogs, which is interesting because Keanu is not even a part of that. No, he is, but not as much. It's more about Halle and the dogs. And I'm a big dog person, and I just love that scene to bits.
That's pretty good. I like that one.
And they had actual dogs actually trained for that. And one last thing. The dude that was Keanu's stunt double, Jackson Spidell, he was the coordinator of our group of extras on Tenet as well.
A little name dropping there, Jarvie. A little more name dropping there.
I had to.
All right, well, that's number one. We're actually a lot for 45 minutes in. We hit class category number one. But we're going to keep going. We're going to go over today because I love it. Better Keanu. Which is better Keanu? I'll start this time.
Yeah.
I will say that I loved the idea of which one better. It's definitely the young lion versus the old lion. Keanu was in his prime back in the Matrix days. He had Point Break, he had Speed. It wasn't that far after these movies that the Matrix was made. Keanu took a long time off. He had definitely had a moment where more than a moment where he was definitely in the background. John Wick is one of the things that really brought him back. Now he's a more old, grizzled actor, but I feel like he's more in control of himself now, and he's more in control of the franchise. Like I'm actually going to go. I'm going to spoil it right now. I'm going with John Wick again because John Wick. Keanu makes the John Wick franchise better. Whereas I think he's kind of slid into the Matrix role. There's not a lot that made Neo had to be Keanu. I think a lot of people could have slipped in that role and it would have been.
It could have been Will Smith easily. You
Will
can
Smith.
totally see Will Smith do a great job as Neo.
Because the blank character, and I shouldn't say necessary, but it's more of a blank character that you can kind of slide somebody in. Whereas the John Wick felt like Keanu took that role and made it Keanu's role. That's why it's John Wick you think about nowadays. You think of Keanu, you almost think of John Wick more than you think of the Matrix. It's been that long in a way too. I mean, part of that's time, but I got to go with John Wick.
It feels like it's written for Keanu, and you can't imagine anyone else saying, "People have been asking if I'm back, so I'm thinking, yeah,
I'm back."
No one else can do it that wooden, but still be good.
Yeah.
Like do a great job. This is because I still love to say Keanu is the best bad actor, and it's not his acting is bad. He's doing his same thing every time, but you love everything about what he's doing. So
it's actually funny if you watch SCN Live for the Christian Harloff, which I do. They were bringing up different things, and somebody threw in a chat. It said something about I couldn't believe Keanu Reeves hadn't been nominated for an Oscar yet in all the years. And Christian even said the same exact thing that you said and that I feel too. I'm like, oh, I could definitely believe it because he's not an Oscar nominee. He's not an Oscar caliber actor.
Criminal.
but seriously, you still love him anyway. You want to see him go. So, all right. Well, Jarvis got Wick. I got Wick.
I'm going Wick as well. Yeah, it feels like Keanu Reeves is almost following the footsteps of TC Legend in the fact that he's getting older, but he still likes to do a lot of his. Not doing most of his stunts, but he's doing a lot. You feel like he's doing a lot. You've seen the training videos also with the gun training. Everything he does is doing everything. It's so cool. The featurettes are great. So he'll never be Tom Cruise, but he's
not a bad alternate.
Yeah, exactly. So this is I do love Neo and I do love Keanu as Neo, but it feels like Keanu is John Wick. That was written for him. That was meant for him.
Matty, what do you got for us?
It's not in my character to be a contrarian, just to be the sake of a contrarian. I have to go with John Wick.
Wow. This is not going the way I thought it was going to go. Go ahead.
I'm going to surprise you guys at some point. Neo, as we said, it was originally meant to be Will Smith.
Right.
Keanu kind of slid into that role, and it made him a global megastar. Obviously, he had Point Break, other projects before that were big films, but nothing to the level of The Matrix. And we'll get into cultural impact and everything a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he had that kind of lull where between Matrix and John Wick, he had 47 Ronin, which I loved, Man of Tai Chi, which I loved, but a lot of people were like, those are just Keanu doing films that he wants to do. And that's fair enough. As an artist, you have to allow him that expression to go off and do things that he wants. Maybe the type of man that Keanu Reeves is, he doesn't want to be a big Hollywood action star. It just kind of fell into his lap. It's not the kind of human being he is. So he went off and did that. And again, John Wick is a labor of love for him. But it just so happened to revitalize his career to the point where he is now in a highly anticipated video game, Cyberpunk 2077, which is coming out. He's one of the main roles in that. Yeah, Keanu is one of the main characters in that video game.
Huh. I'm gonna write that down.
He's being talked about for Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm. Heard that.
So John Wick has really revitalized his career, whether it was by accident or by not. The man is 55 and he's a cultural icon. Who else can you say that about?
I will have to say that he might have tried to trash his career by putting out that piece of shit called Replicas. I don't know if you saw that movie.
I feel like that movie's like actually like bad but enjoyable. I've never seen it, but it feels like to me the trailer makes it.
I just saw it. I was intrigued by it, and I watched it. I'm kind of like, oh, this is it borders very dangersly on self-parody. I'll say it's not
kind of like a robot,
but yeah. Exactly that kind of thing. But all right, there we go.
Got the thriller with the two girls as well. The Eli Roth movie.
That was weird.
That was a different one. That was strange. But he's got.
I can't remember his name for now.
move on from that. All right. So there we are. John Wick is destroying the Matrix right now. Can we change that with the next category? Matty, it's your turn to lead us in. Talk about impact.
Yeah, I told you guys I was going to switch it up. I'm going with the Matrix on impact.
Okay.
Because not only did it changed the way the action movies were shot with the whole bullet time theory, which for those of you who don't know is a set of still cameras circled around a subject that are fired off in quick succession and makes it look like time is slowing. So not only did it do that, it revitalized martial arts in movies, but culturally as well, it kind of highlighted how we have a detachment from our primal human selves with technology. We rely so much on technology in our day-to-day lives. Like, so this live stream is an example. It's a crucial part of our lives as fans. We enjoy the content that gets put out by the content creators we follow. But ultimately, it's sucking us into a world which is detaching ourselves from our primal basic instincts. And that kind of, the Matrix really highlighted that. And I felt, wow, this is going deeper than an action film or any kind of film. John Wick did revamp and change how action movies are done, because now you have a 55-year-old man who is learning martial arts, who is doing his own stunts. These young bucks in Hollywood now have no excuse to be overusing stunt doubles. And now stunt choreographers, fight choreographers, they are being given their due respect and their dues. And I feel Matrix, overshadows all that with its cultural impact as well as its movie industry impact.
I agree. I'll take next shot if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I will say that everything you just said, I'll double down on that. The Matrix had such an impact at the time, specifically. I mean, it's the only film I remember. It came out the same year as Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace, and Star Wars was such that whether you like the Episode 1 or not, that's a totally different story. But at the time, that was the most anticipated movie. It actually might even still have been the most anticipated movie in movie history. It was such picking back to it. And then there's this little movie called The Matrix that came out this year. And at the end of the year, I was like, holy fuck, The Matrix. And I know it says a little bit to the quality some people had it with Episode 1, but Matrix overshadowed it in so many different ways as far as it was the Star Wars of that year. It had moved things forward. It had taken such a new place in cinema world, changed movies, how movies were made, how it was impacted. And it did have a cultural impact as well as outside of just filmmaking. You're talking about it rightly or wrongly, it was linked into some of the tragedies of the time because of the detachment. Some people who were they were looking at these detached characters and really feeling the same way as these detached characters, and it led to shine some of the trouble that we had in the youth at the time. But beyond that, it even brought in so much as far as movie making. Like I said, we talk about before, movie making and how it changed up different technologies. But at the end of the day, years later, we're still talking about how the Matrix changed everything. Whereas John Wick changed action movies.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even say it necessarily. It was more revitalization than anything else. I mean, there was definitely things that steps forward made in the John Wick franchise as far as movies go, but its impact is definitely more localized to a specific genre, whereas Matrix was more of a film and even worldwide impact at this point. But God, did Wick have a lot to do with a lot of different things, as far as like Matty said, with directors getting their action sequences getting their due. People start talking about the Oscars now. They talk about either Mission Impossible getting stunt issues, and now John Wick also getting possible nomination for action, Mad Max and everything. There's a lot of different. So it's definitely a part of a revolution that's kind of coming. I got to feel that stunt work and flight tickets will eventually get their due at these award shows. I feel like that's gonna happen eventually, and John Wick will be one of the reasons why.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I'll actually just finish up and say, with that all being said, I still got to give it to the Matrix overall as impact for now. It could be something later on that changes, but for right now, I got to give it to the Matrix.
I just want to piggyback you talking about stunts. It's crazy. I don't mean to name drop, but again, instead of Tenet, seeing what stunts are doing, even for the simplest things. Someone getting shot, someone falling down. So there was a moment when I had to fall on the stairs and pretend I'm dead. It's like, okay, they didn't want to give any of the extras, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, they are asking if anyone feels comfortable falling down. I was like, sure, I'll go. Like, so there's a moment I get shot, I fall down on the stairs. It's like cut. I stand up. I'm like, holy shit! I like totally like simplest falling down over on the stairs. The simplest thing, but it's so when you see the stunt guys do it, it's like a freaking art. It's like art. It's like watching art, and you try to do what they do. You get nowhere near what they're doing. Anyway, so the stunts has taken a whole new meaning for me after being on the set of Tenet. But we were talking about better impact, right? Yeah, totally going with the Matrix here, and I think we should look at the directors as well on this part. This is we have David Leitch and Chad Stahelski for John Wick, yeah, and we have the Wachowskis. So Stahelski and Leitch, they're up and comers now. They're getting more and more movies. If we think about the Wachowskis, they are still considered as Hollywood royalty because of the first Matrix. The only thing that they are being positively remembered for is the Matrix, the first Matrix. People don't like the second one, the third one. Even Cloud Atlas people are mixed on. The horrible bomb of Jupiter Ascending, which I thought was actually pretty funny and cool, but it's a bad movie. They are still considered Hollywood royalty for the first Matrix. So I think it's an easy win for the Matrix.
Fair enough. That's a clean sweep. All right, Matrix taking its licks and coming back a little strong now. So it's a fight now, as you say. The Russians cut, and it's a bet. It's called Rocky. Now go to the most anticipated sequel. They both have sequels coming out. John Wick and Matrix
on the same day,
and they're scheduled to come out the same day. I think one of them's got to move. I don't know which
they are going to move,
but something's going to move. They can't have that happen on the same day. That would be.
What's the date for now?
Is it? Next summer, I believe, is what the idea was.
May 21st. May 21st, I believe. Next year.
Yeah, next year. I think one of them's got to move at this point. But
I think John Wick's gonna move, and I'm already taking the lead here. For me, I'm already saying what I'm expecting more. I'm waiting for the Matrix. The John Wick. What the issue I have with the John Wick movies is. The action kept on building and building and building throughout the second and the third movie. The third movie I did enjoy, but I enjoyed it the least because everything was so everything was so elevated all the time. So I had almost no time to take a breath and get into the next scene. It felt like it's building. It's cool, but you kind of wanted to take a break, give you some more time to breathe. So what I'm afraid of is the fourth one makes me a bit more skeptical. I'm like, okay, I hope they're toning it back a little bit because it feels like the whole world is. We'll get into world building in the next one, but it starts to feel like a superhero universe already, almost. But the Matrix, we are getting all the original crew back. We are getting one of the Wachowskis. It's just something I feel like. People want to and believe that they are going to be replicating the magic of the first one. So I'm like cautiously optimistic for John Wick, but I'm all in for Matrix 4.
Okay. Matty, hit us with that. What do you got?
I'm going to go with John Wick because I feel that the Matrix Revolutions it tied all the ends together. We know what happened with Neo. We know what happened with. Well, I don't know if we know what happened with Neo. Trinity is, in my eyes, dead. How they're gonna bring Carrie-Anne Moss in for the next one? No idea. I'm curious about that. The one thing that kept John Wick going is the fans wanted it. And that's always been the thing that Keanu has said. I will keep doing this as long as the fans want it. No one asked for a fourth Matrix film. Like, we were happy with 1, 2, and 3. Okay, Jarvie asked for a fourth Matrix film. Maybe this film is just for Jarvie. Who knows? Maybe he'll get like an EP credit somewhere. but like, no one really asked for it. Am I curious about it? Yeah, because I want to know how the heck did Neo survive? Is this younger Morpheus going to be the next one? how they're bringing the Merovingian back in. What role is he going to play? Is he going to be like a new architect kind of figure? Has he like succeeded the architect, and is he the new big bad? I don't know. And you say you hope that John Wick is a bit more scaled back. I'm completely opposite.
Yeah,
Go
okay,
all
I
in.
get that. I get that.
John Wick versus the world, baby. I want John Wick versus the high table, the whole organization. Does he know that Winston betrayed him? Spoiler alert. But does he go after the Continental Hotel as well? I'm like, yeah, give me all action, more action. I want it.
But it faces the danger of becoming the next Fast and the Furious franchise if it just keeps on going. Or is that what you want? You just want it to, skyrocket into wherever.
Yeah.
John Wick 10, where John Wick pushes a tank.
Yeah. I want a decent, a true to life martial arts movie.
Okay.
To reach the legacy of something like an Enter. I want John Wick to have the same legacy as Enter the Dragon.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a tall order, but
because we don't have any martial arts superstars anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very true. That's a good point.
Let's go.
All right. Well, I'll throw in my there. I see both sides of the story. I do agree with Jarvie a little bit that I was less of a fan of John Wick 3 than much of the world was because of a similar reason. It kind of seemed like it was like all in all the time, which I get. And I love part of it. But I feel like time, as far as anticipation goes, time works for the Matrix. We just had a John Wick. We've had 3 John Wick movies since 2014. Here it is 2020. And I'm excited about John Wick 4. I love John Wick 4. But I gotta go, wow, the fucking Matrix. We haven't had one of those in such a long time. What are they gonna possibly do? Now, on the flip side, another thing that Jarvie mentioned is the Wachowskis. I know they only have one of the Wachowskis this time, but they haven't done anything that's been of note for anybody pretty much since the original Matrix. That's a long time ago. And I'm an apologist, as you'll find out in my channel sometime soon. I actually do like some of the Wachowski stuff. I actually like Speed Racer. I actually enjoyed Cloud Atlas. I even had some the Jupiter Ascending. I actually had fun with it as a very B science fiction movie. I'm kind of with William Bibiani on that. If you ever read his take, it's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie that does what it's supposed to do. Let's put it that way. But to the world itself, Wachowskis haven't had a hit since Matrix, so how the hell are they going to pull this off? And then Matty's got the same problems too. It seems like it's like the Star Wars problem. Return of the Jedi was the end of the saga. Like anything you do after that almost seems like it cheapens it in a way to a degree. So it's got the potential of breaking what doesn't need to be broken.
But aren't you curious for that reason? Even though if you believe that it might be bad, you're more curious to see the Matrix than you are John Wick.
Jarvis, you're taking my answer for me. That's exactly where I'm going to go. Okay. I am actually going to go with the Matrix because of that. It goes back to the idea of, and it's just not by much. I'm going to love sitting there in John Wick 4. When John Wick 4 comes out, I will definitely be there. I might just go the next day after I see the Matrix first at that point. I know Matt.
See, I have a feeling they're gonna mix the two. I think one is the other. There's no reason why they keep bringing in. If Carrie-Anne Moss appears in John Wick 4, I will know that Neo is John Wick.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to make the John Wick Matrix crossover. And I love that idea. Let's do that.
Or we find out that John Wickiverse is the Matrix.
Oh, there you go. I see where you're going there. You're going.
John Wick is the one.
John Wick is the one.
Or is he?
The concierge
is it still the one?
Like the new Agent Smith.
Morpheus is already in there. The Bowery King also. So we got that going on. So
the concierge is the new agent.
There you go. We can do that. Or is the concierge the architect? I don't know. I'll have to go back and forth and see. I don't know. Either way, we could talk about that all day. Either way, I think it's safe to say all three of us are looking forward to both Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 to see what happens. Mm-hmm. So either way, we're all winners that week or month or whatever. It all comes down. So let's get to our final category, better world building. Mm-hmm. This was an interesting one for me because my initial thought was, well, it's got to be Matrix, right? But then you go into it and you're like, wow, but John Wick did so much in creating a different world, not a different world, but a more unique world. I almost think of John Wick as the Harry Potter of the action franchise. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is J.K. Rowling, when she wrote the Harry Potter books and made the Harry Potter universe, she had this like secret magical world that the Muggles didn't know anything about, and they played with
What
that.
you call me?
You get that. But she played with that, and it was beneath the surface. You didn't know anything about it, and so John Wick actually does that in a more adult fashion. There's this whole universe underneath the Bowery King, the Continental, the High Table, the Gunsmith, the Cleaner. It's this world we don't with the coins. It's this whole world we don't know about it. So John Wick should have a little lightning scar. Should have a lightning scar in his head and be it's John Wick, Harry Potter grown up and made an action hero. So that being said, I was like, wow, that's something I didn't really consider when I did this deep dive. But it is one of the reasons I love John Wick the most. John Wick. I love John Wick so much just because of that, because it really elevates it from just being another action martial arts film. I think without that side of it, it's a much lesser franchise because that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it different. You buy in, you want to know more about the weird computer, like the cyberpunk. They basically use Commodore 64 type computers to like send out the contracts and things. Those like little old, it's like, what is that? I don't even get that. But you want to know more. So it was much closer than I wanted to be. But even after all that, I'm gonna still say the Matrix because
oh man, I hate people do that. They make you think they can go one way and then they go the next. Jesus, PRD.
Because I gotta say, a lot of people will give you shit for the Matrix sequels. I'm not one of those people. I actually was all in on the Matrix sequels.
Me too.
Now I will say I get some of the complaints. I don't like the music change. The music change makes it goes from this really grungy Rage Against the Machine rock to this more like slick R&B rave.
That was more techno.
I'm sorry, I'm bad with it. Techno.
Yeah, a lot of industrial kind of stuff in there as well.
But it wasn't as raw, so I kind of lost that aspect of it. I like the grittiness of the first film, so I lose a little bit of that. It makes it a little too slick for 2 and 3 for me. But what doesn't get slick for me is this idea of the computer programs, everything getting translated, going such a more deep depth into the world that the Matrix is in, the Merovingian, the Cipher, Oracle. There are all these computer programs. I love the allegories. I love that it's not completely explained. I love the fact that you watch and kind of like some of them going, I don't really know what the fuck's going on, but I'm all in. I want to know more. If you let yourself go and you get into it, you have such a deep dive that you don't even know about. There's theories out there that you read. I started reading these theories before. And some people say, well, you shouldn't have to read something afterwards. You shouldn't have to read fan theories afterwards to enjoy a film. And I get that to a degree. But to me, it just enhances everything. I look at things in such a different way. I love the architect scene. I love going, well, is this the 6th version of the Matrix? Is there another Matrix inside the Matrix? I don't know for sure, but I want to find out. Tell me more. They built this great world and this great in-depth world that you don't know everything about it, and but you can make allegories, you can make these assumptions, and I love a lot of the dialogue there. The architect scene is one of my favorites because I'm on the edge of my seat, saying what is Neo going to decide? It's that concept of love going to overtake all the programming that they don't understand, and the idea of the architect versus the Oracle. All of it to me. And what is the Agent Smith? He's a virus, basically. He's a virus gone rogue. I love the whole allegory of the whole computer system. Everything about it made work for me. So at the end of the day, I think the Matrix world building is a little deeper, a little more expansive. It has a little more potential to even get bigger and crazier than John Wick. So I have to go Matrix myself.
I think it's you have it backwards because people are the virus, they are the cure. Because it makes you lose, like the Matrix makes you lose sleep over it. Like I've had nights where I'm just staying awake. I'm thinking, is this real? Are these just chemical impulses going through my brain? Does this actually taste good? Is that air I'm breathing? Like all of this, it's perfect dialogue and it's perfect lore, and they even, like you said, they tie in religion to it, which you don't have to read into religion if you don't want to, but you can, and it makes it seamless. It makes it like you can interpret it both ways. So I'm completely on board with what you said, Paul, and this is the Matrix.
Okay, all right. Matty, looks like it's up to you. What do you have to say about it?
As Keanu says in The Matrix, choice. The problem is choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's I feel the Matrix did a better job of building its world over a set period of time. I feel John Wick kind of was like, oh man, the action's awesome. But wait, what's really going on? What the fuck? Everyone's an assassin now? What the hell? You're like, wait, hold on. You're an assassin. People aren't supposed to know about you. Yet you're running through Central Park and suddenly everyone's picking up their phone and looking at you. I was a bit like, not a lot of world building going on there. And funny story, actually, I was in New York for a UFC event. A friend of mine was fighting at MSG. I had to go to where the Continental was being filmed.
Ooh.
Now, when we went in there, I looked it up. It's just an office building. It's a place where people rent offices.
Oh.
No security or anything going on there. And they told us we weren't allowed in. I said, come on, man, I just want to take a picture of inside. And he was like, nope, no one's allowed in. If you don't leave, we're going to call the police and you're going to be done for trespassing. I was like, are they filming in there? The guy was like, yeah. The guy was like, are they filming John Wick in there? And the guy was like, yeah. So they are going back to the Continental in New York. But I feel like John Wick, there is more depth to it. You learn that the coins are like a bartering system, kind of like how Bitcoin and all these new terms of currency. Exactly. So that's like a new type of currency that is solely based in this world. You learn what the cross is and all this substance that's there, but I feel like it was a little bit too late. I think the Matrix did a job at building a bigger world, but I think John Wick has more substance to it.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
The first John Wick didn't actually build a lot of it, but the second and the third took it to a whole new level.
I hear that.
Exactly.
I hear that.
So I'm going with John Wick.
You're going with John Wick.
I can't blame you because honestly, they are even making a TV show about the Continental, or they were going to. I don't know if they are now, but you can.
They are.
They are still, yeah.
And I'd love to see
and the ballerina too.
I did hear that too. The ballerina are going to do that as well, which is interesting to say. I hope they are successful because I love the world. You make some great points, man. I'm not going to lie. I do wonder if John Wick doesn't have the potential to have the same problems that you have with the Matrix, so getting too big for itself sometimes. I kind of feel sometimes in 3, like you said, everybody's an assassin. It has a danger of going from this small underworld part, whereas but that's the importance to it, is that's an underworld, that there's a real world and it's underneath. Whereas now John Wick is tending to almost push it against where everybody is involved, and if everybody's involved, then it's not a secret world anymore. A special world. So I get that there's a danger for that to happen. I'm not saying it has happened yet. I don't think it quite has. But I did feel a little bit more of that during John Wick 3, for example, that I felt. I thought John Wick 2 was the perfect mix of that small secret society, yet being very in-depth in the world. So that's it. I got to say it, which is funny. We're done with our categories now. I'm tallying them up as I go. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but we have a winner, and the winner is 8-7.
I think this is the closest that we've ever been.
8-7, and the winner, because of Matty Gunner's last decision, is the John Wick franchise.
No,
yes!
It was 7-7 when we turned it over to Matty Gunner to decide which world was better. And that's why I'm right here at the edge of my seat going, he's talking both up. He's talking both up. I always thought he could go either way. He could be pulling the fast one here. Then he comes to John Wick, and John Wick wins the day. So what a great discussion. What a great I love this episode today, guys. I think we had some great talks about this. I can't fault the result. It was very I love both franchises, so I'll definitely go that way. So well, that being said, that's the end of our show today. Matt, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Where can the folks find you? Want to plug anything?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on. You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, on Instagram, Matty_Gunner. The ONU MMA show where we break down fights. We're going through Throwback series right now every Wednesday and Fridays over on the Wild Jones Podcast Network. You can find us there. And yeah, that's all I've got going on. I got a little project in the works, which PLD kind of he dropped, which is going to be interesting. I'm going to be breaking down Warrior from the aspect of a mixed martial artist. So
I want to see that. I really want to see that. Interesting thing, I think last show we discussed Warrior on the way back, and Paul said that you mentioned that Frank Grillo has a show called The Kingdom.
Yeah, Kingdom. Yeah, great show. Awesome show.
We were just talking about that. We feel like Frank Grillo's character, Frank Campana, should have a spin-off. And then this came up. I'm like, this sounds exactly like a Warrior spin-off. Why have I never watched the show? Now I've got the show lined up and I'm going to watch it because the trailer was awesome.
I can't wait for it.
Shout a few friends of mine are actually Joseph Benavidez, Jonathan Tucker, who's one of the stars in it. Both of them awesome in the show. Frank does a great job. It goes really into the sport and what MMA is like, because a lot of you guys, you might see the likes of Conor McGregor and think, oh, it's great. Guys, it sucks. It's fun, but the behind the scenes, it's grimy. And that show does a really good, and Warrior did a great job with it too.
Sweet. Excellent. All right, Jarvie, where can they find you?
You can find me here weekly on Action Industries and on Instagram and Facebook, Richard Eric with a K Jarvie. And that's what I have going on.
Okay, I feel bad plugging because I have a list of things I tend to plug. First, you can find me on the Patreon of Team Action, patreon.com/Team Action, where I help run that. And we have a lot of tiers coming up, a lot of exciting things with behind the scenes movie trivia schmodown. They just started the greatest movie ever made, which you're going to see later on today. They're going a deep dive into Logan.
Cannot wait for Logan, dude.
Oh yeah. And if you love AMA,
filled in for AMA. I've been missing AMA so much that's sort of given me ease.
It's a spiritual successor, really. It's basically the same thing, and bringing back some of the old fan favorite segments. They're introducing some new segments. They're going to have some general call-ins, which should be fun. I can't wait to see that. And tomorrow they actually have they're doing the Action Guys with Mark Ellis. Going to be on the show tomorrow, so that should be fun.
What?
Well. Yes, they actually guys have Mark Ellis coming on, so that should be fun.
Hell yeah! Love Ellis. Can't wait for that one.
Dude, I gotta tell you, Mark Ellis might be one of the most genuinely nice guys I have ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. He's a genuine human being. I'll tell you that much. As far as I can go, you find me on Class Action every week. I have no idea what we're doing next week. We haven't discussed that yet. We hopefully do a live show sometime soon. But you can also find me on the Call to Action podcast, where I do an after show for the movie Trivia Schmodown, which is where Mark Ellis is from as well. I do a weekly interview show called Chilled Action, and this week's Chilled Action is actually kind of a big one for me. I'm a little intimidated by it. We have Ethan Big Time Irwin coming on, the president of Silver Pictures. So that's going to be
that's big, dude. Congratulations on getting that. It's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Finally, I've also mentioned my own YouTube channel that actually opened recently called PLD Projects. I do a weekly Star Wars show, doing Clone Wars. I actually have done a weekly show on V, one of my favorite 80s sci-fi franchises. And I have I don't know if I want to announce it yet or not. I told these guys about it before the episode, something I've been mulling over. It has to do with, I'll say this, I want to do a live stream for PLD Projects, similar to what we did with Class Action Sunday night, hopefully. We're going to delve into some lesser liked. There's my cat. My cat always likes to join in at some point before the day is over. Action cat, get out of here. Indiana Jones, not for you. But speaking of Indiana Jones, it's actually a perfect segue. Like movies like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I might do some depth into the. I might as well go ahead. My idea is I'm going to do the best of the bad, so to speak. I don't have a title yet, but I want to get into those bad movies of the franchise and say, let's get a little positive about it. What's it like about that, if anything? But that's a soft intro. I'll get more into it later on as we.
That's a really good idea.
It's fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Loads of them.
Oh, absolutely. Something. PJ Campbell's a guy who I talked to a lot about this. And Richard's new one, Matty Gunner. We are more positive. We tend to like the Matrix sequels. We tend to like films of franchises that people usually dismiss right away. So we want to kind of bring back some of our love and say, well, this is why we actually don't think they're that bad. So that being said, I also have me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. And that's it for tonight. So that is our show. John Wick is our winner. And as always, the court is adjourned.